Dog, we need to talk about something here, man, because we got a serious problem with lust going on in this world, and we don't even know what it means, man. Like, everything I see about lust, bro, is just talking about sexual desires and porn. And yeah, that's part of it, and that's a big issue, but lust is the strong desire for anything. It's not just the strong sexual desire. All right, like we talk about, that's all we ever want to talk about. That's all we want to speak about is that it's a sexual desire. But if you have a strong desire that creates a huge amount of anxiety in your heart for anything, not just sexual stuff, not just porn, it's lust. Like if you want wealth and that's all you can think about, that's what fills your mind, that's lust. Bro, you have a lustful mind just as bad as a porn addict if you think like that. And I feel like most of us, probably struggle with some form of lust. And I think many of us probably struggle with multiple forms and didn't even know that it was lust until I said that just now. Dog, this lighting makes my teeth yellow. What the hell? Alright, this is better. Sorry about that. Anyways, but we got this strong attraction to many things. Many of us do. And I feel like a lot of people just see lust as sexual desire and they're like, oh, I'm gonna quit lust, bro. I'm gonna focus on myself. I'm gonna focus on getting this money. Not realizing they're just transmuting that sexual lust into something else. And then it doubles down on them, and then their sexual lust becomes worse, and it's harder for them to quit that than it was to begin with because they just changed it into something else that was sexual, or not sexual, but into something else that was a strong desire. And then when they stop trying towards that, or they are trying towards that, but they get some free time, their sexual lust is worse because all they did was train their lust muscle. And a lot of people just are seeming to forget that it can be the strong desire for anything. And that's why, like, this generation has the worst lust problem in history. Because we've been being trained by sexual stimulation since we were young, like the internet, all that shit used to be the Wild West. It still is the Wild West, but not like it was before. Back in middle school, your homeboy shows you a porn clip at 8 a.m. or something like that. Like, what? Name me one other generation that had access like that. So really, it's just becoming this thing where we've been so absorbed in it that when we try to quit, we don't know how to not lust, so we have to lust for something. We lust for wealth, we lust for status, we lust for whatever. And we're being taught that lust is only sexual. So if you quit sexual lust, you'll unlock all this power in your brain. But that's not true, because you're just going to waste that energy elsewhere, because your way of quitting lust is by lusting for something else. Because you told yourself lust is only sexual. And, it's not entirely your fault, because if everyone's saying lust is just sexual and I quit lust by nofap, then yeah, you're just going to think that because no one told you otherwise. But lust is anything, any desire. I can't elaborate that enough, bro. But so that's kind of like the introductory period, but it's like, what are we going to do about it? Like, how are we going to quit desiring things? Because as humans, we want things, we have goals, but it's important to realize the difference between lust and ambition. Because you can have ambition, you can want to do something, but it not be lust. And the opposite is also true. You can lust for something and do absolutely nothing towards it, and just imagine it in your head. But when we have ambition towards something, we're working towards it and we have realistic goals and it doesn't consume our life. If something begins consuming your life, creating huge amounts of anxiety in you when you think about it, or makes you feel like you're going to be the world's biggest failure if you don't work towards it, or if you don't make it with what you're trying to do, then you have a lust problem. You are lusting for that goal. So how do we keep ambition healthy? Because when ambition grows out of control, we create lust in our lives. And even for me, it's weird using lust in this way because that's what I've heard my whole life. It's just sexual. You lust for people when you have sexual desire, and that's what lust is. So it's also weird for me to hear it being used this way. So if it's weird for you, it's weird for me, and I'm the one speaking and thinking these thoughts. So how do we keep our ambition healthy? So the best way I've found to keep myself grounded and not like where my ambition turns into lust is you just got to sit down every once in a while. You got to reflect on what your work has been. You got to reflect on the quality of it, the amount you've done. Am I doing too much? Am I doing too little? Could I do more? But not could I do more to the point where you're a self-improvement bro, beating yourself to death 16 hours a day because you're going to burn out and you're going to fail then for sure. But, you know, sometimes we have those weeks and you look back and you're like, damn, bro, I could have done so much more. Or you have them weeks you're like, damn, I did too much and my work quality could have been so much better. Apply this to everything because how you do one thing is how you do everything. And this absolutely can work for anything. Because you may be lusting for self-improvement. Dog, like, it's crazy. It's crazy because you can lust for anything. Continuing to reflect regularly upon your work and the things you do will create a healthy ambition. Because you'll see how you've grown, you'll see where you've been, where you've gone. But how do you reflect in a meaningful way? Because we can write, we can, you know, whatever. And a lot of times, because us as humans like to be negative, it becomes negative, and then your ambition starts growing unhealthy because you think you're not doing enough, and then before you know it, you're lusting. So my best way is I have turned a lot of my work, because I have a math head, I have a numbers head, into numbers, like rating my work, rating my whatever, taking the number of hours into account, and I rate it, and I usually multiply it. So like, let's say I think I had a quality of work this week of 7, and I did 10 hours of work towards whatever I'm trying to do. Then I had a score of 70 this week. But let's say Wednesday I had a blunder. And for blunders, like, were days where I just, like, fuck up. But, like, I didn't fuck up the whole day. But I fucked up for a good bit. Like, a big enough chunk to where I think that was a problem. Subtract, 5 from the score. So then you have a score of 65 for that week. And then you compare that to weeks past, weeks future. And you try to make a goal score, a realistic goal score. You just want to see growth week to week. That's been my best way. You just have to be really honest with yourself to a point where your ego's not going to like it. That can be the most challenging part of rating yourself, is finding the truthful, honest opinion of your own work. Because the problem is, a lot of times when we're doing things on our own, growing our own things, fixing our own things, or whatever it may be, that no one else is watching, so we can't really get a third person assessment of ourselves. We can only get the first person assessment. So it can be very difficult to be completely honest with yourself when doing it that way. So that is understandable if not everyone wants to do it that way, but it's definitely something we should all be working towards. Because I know I can't do it perfectly, and I know probably no one can. And if they can do it perfectly, they've been doing it for years and years. So it's not my worry right now to be that good, because I haven't been doing it that long. And that also takes me to the next point of keeping our ambitions from becoming lust, is that that brings me to the next part of keeping our ambitions from becoming lustful. We need to be realistic with ourselves. We can look up to people, we can have inspiration, but we should never, ever be comparing ourselves to the people we look up to. Because no matter how long you do something, the person you look up to has been doing it longer. Because you looked up to them when you started, they were already doing it. It's like 48 laws of power. Never outshine the master. You should never even try to outshine the master. We should never compare ourselves to people who have been doing things noticeably longer than us. Like, if someone's been doing something 3 weeks longer than you, then they're your competition. That's your competition. When I say comparison, I don't mean true comparison. I mean competition. So I guess that was poor wording on my part. But competition does lead to comparison. Competition can be healthy. Competition can be good. We should strive to have some competitive drive in us, because competitive drive is what accelerates the human race as a whole. Without that competitive drive, we probably would have never gone to the moon, for example. So that's the other piece of keeping your ambitions from becoming lustful and keeping a healthy relationship with them. You just need to remain competitive, but be competitive with the people on your level. Don't be competitive with the people that are better than you. You don't see little league players playing NBA players. That don't happen. They play each other and then they play whatever. So that's really just what I'm going to leave here with. It was short, it was sweet, but I just think that our whole thing with lust is inaccurate, and we need to address our ambitions and not just our problems with sexual desire. Because most of us have unhealthy ambitions that are going to make that sexual desire worse. So if you like what I had to say, if you think I'm Wise Man Duran, hit that subscribe button, and I will be back later.